Welcome to the new season of the Live Your Spa Life show. The SPA in Spa Life stands for Seek Power Always, that divine power within you to do what you're here to do. The theme for this season is intentional living. Amazing people like you share ways to live by design and with purpose to ensure that this short ride of life occurs with choice, physically, financially, spiritually, and in your relationships to create a world-class life. In these times of uncertainty, it's time for you to move past the distractions and start trusting yourself more through your God-giving knowingness. No one truly knows better what's best for you than you. In this season, you'll have plenty of examples of people choosing their best life and creating a positive impact through intentional living. Thank you for sharing your precious time with us and being part of the Live Your Spa Life conversation. With us today is Liz Hatcher. She believes that there is opportunity everywhere you look and in everything you do. It just takes a little creative thinking. This is something that she excels at and is thrilled in discovering opportunities that help others move forward. Liz thrives on the spirit of collaboration and a shared purpose of elevating each other as goals are pursued. Together, much more can be achieved in ways to leverage resources and grow together. Liz is an entrepreneur and a creative at heart with a diverse background in marketing, association management, and event production across many industries. She loves that in her current role, she is able to tap into and build onto all of these past experiences. One of Liz's mottos is every day is a new opportunity to grow. Liz, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Happy to be here.
It's good to have you. So one of the things is that, a lot of people were like shutting down over the last couple of years, and you have just expanded out into the world in many different ways. Tell us how you just were able to just do that a little bit differently.
It never occurred to me that I shouldn't. The immediate response in my mind was, well, we just have to keep going and we'll figure it out. And I think that's how I approach anything. The worst thing anyone can ever tell me is you shouldn't do that, because to me, that's a challenge. I will like, well, watch me, I'm going to go do it. Yeah. And we had tapped into something when we launched Women to Women Network. It was August of 2019. And then of course, less than a year later, COVID hits. And we were just really hitting our stride with our local women's community in what we were offering in that community of camaraderie, of support, of collaboration, all of that women weren't finding. And when COVID shut us down, I, like everybody, we're like, okay, well, we'll give us a couple of weeks and we'll be back online and we'll be back to our events. And clearly that wasn't happening. And I met with my team and I said, well, this isn't going to work. We have to keep moving forward. How can we make this work? And, my thinking was, well, if others can figure out Zoom, I can figure out Zoom. And if I stumble, oh, well, I've always been, show up as you are and let people see the faults and the stumbles, because they will be more likely to catch you and give you grace. And if you give them grace when they have their stumbles, we learn better from each other. And you can do more. The fear goes away. When you allow the room to make mistakes, the fear goes away.
I love that. I'm sure there's a lot of different networking groups in your area. What makes Women to Women different, and why did you start that one in particular?
I started it accident, really, in the beginning. I had launched a marketing company, and that was my focus. But I had been part of another women's group that got closed down, and the women in that group were looking to me to please start something. The sponsor of that group looked to me to please start something. And while I was saying, why me? You can do this yourselves. I was attending other networking groups and not finding what I was after. And what I was looking for was those genuine connections. I wanted real conversations. I wasn't looking to sell anybody my services. I didn't want to be sold. I wanted to talk about, how do we do this as women, as entrepreneurs? How do we build our business? How do we find those clients? How do we really connect? How can we help each other? That's what I was after. But anytime I went to a meeting, it was so transactional. And if I wasn't their client, they didn't want to talk to me. So we really came from that place of, let's just get real, ladies, and let's have genuine conversations. And we started out a tiny group, and then we grew a little bigger and then a little bigger and a little bigger. And we reached a point where it became clear to me that I can't do this as a volunteer. I'm all in or I'm all out, because trying to launch and run my marketing company at the same time, to run this little volunteer thing that was gaining traction and was building a life of its own, I'm like, there's a huge opportunity here. I need to step into this, and I need to make that commitment. I worked with a coach. That helped. I highly recommend working with coaches whenever you feel like you're stuck. You need people to talk to. And so I had met a woman through our group, and just a few sessions with her really tapped into, this is what I'm supposed to be doing, the life I wanted to live. And we didn't talk about, my work or the business I was building, which is what I thought we were going to talk about. We really focused on the kind of life I wanted to live and what brought me joy. And by understanding that and how I wanted to spend my time, not what I wanted to do, but how I wanted to do, changed everything. And this thing that didn't have a name yet, this women to women network, rose to the surface. And I think it was because it was that genuine connection and community with other women. That's really at the heart of it.
Oh, so great. Well, women just, they love to connect. And, especially when you look at more of a personal stance, there tends to get a little bit more of a blurred line between personal lives and professional lives now, especially as an entrepreneur, because what's going on at home, a lot of times we're like, oh, just compartmentalize that. But, when you are in it and things are going on with your kids or your family or things are happening, it influences you. It affects how you are doing life and how you're doing business. So I love the shift into, what do you want your life to look like, right? Because when you get clear on that and what your values are, who you want to spend your time with, what that day-to-day looks like, I believe that your business can actually excel more. So what have you been finding as far as like women who are really kind of getting real with like where they're at, how it's impacting their business?
They're going bigger. When you really understand what it is that you're after, and that what you're bringing to the table has value, and you focus on the service you're providing, as opposed to worrying about, is anyone going to pay me for this? Am I going to make any money at this? I mean, yeah, the money matters, but when you start from the money place, that's not where your heart is. That's the money will follow. And yeah, you have to put in the work, and you've got to be smart, and you've got to have business strategy and all these things, but that's where having a community around you to help you navigate that so that you can go big. You don't have to do it all yourself. But it's really just getting crystal clear with how you want to be. When I was doing my marketing company, and I shut that down last year because women to women became my sole focus. I didn't have time. And I remember when I started with the marketing, I put myself in a little box. I was going to do copywriting. That's all I was going to do. I was going to charge X number of dollars an hour, and I was going to work X number of hours a week and a month. And this is how much I was going to make in a year. And neat and tidy, wrapped it up a little bow. And of course I hit the wall because it was boring and it was limiting, and I wasn't going big, and I was selling myself short, and I wasn't really tapping into all the things I could possibly do. I'm not saying you have to do everything, but I had limited myself with my own way of thinking. And I was so afraid that people wouldn't pay me for this other stuff, and that I didn't trust myself on the branding. I didn't trust myself on, full marketing strategy. I'm like, if I just stay right here, I know I can, I'm really good at this, without realizing I'm really good at all these other things. I just didn't believe in myself. Once I started really stepping into it, instead of saying, oh, should I do that? It was like, I'm just going to do it, and I'm going to figure it out. Which is different than the fake it till you make it. I had the skills, I just needed to tap into them. And when I changed my pricing from, okay, I'm going to be in this little box, I'm not going to worry about the end number I'm after. I'm going to worry about that work I want to do, the kind of client I want to serve, and the value of what I'm bringing. And that's what I'm charging. And I tripled my income doing that. because I changed the complete focus on it. Money was still a piece of it, but it really changed how I was thinking about what I was doing when I really focused on what am I delivering? What am I giving that's elevating my client? And same thing with women to women. What is women to women doing that elevates our members? What more can we give? I'm always thinking about what more can we give? And when we set the price in the very beginning, again, I was still in that limited mindset of, well, no one's going to pay because we're not offering very much. We have one event a month, and why would they join? And I had all these doubts. Well, you surround yourself with good people and the doubts start to go away, and you start stepping into it and the doubts go away, and you realize, wow, I am having an impact, and what we're doing really is of worth. And if I don't charge enough, then I can't deliver at that high level that they're asking for and that they're willing to pay for.
Got it.
Yeah, they go hand in hand.
Yeah, definitely. I love that distinction because, we always hear about having SMART goals and business plans and all of those things. And that's a given when it comes to business. But I think part of what you're referring to is, what are you passionate about? Like, what actually gets you out of bed? And we know that whether we're in a project, whether it's having to do with personal or business or whatever, but when we are like really in it, we're going to, it's not going to feel like work. It's going to feel like we're making an impact. And that's really starts going into how do you want to experience your day. And you talk about Women to Women Network as being a safe place to air your fears, to kind of be able to talk about what's going on. But you also talk about how overwhelm can actually have a front seat to fear. Talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, that's the feeling of there's so much to do. How am I going to get this done? This is bigger than me. I can't keep up. There's just so much. That can stall you completely. You can become completely stuck in that place of just not being able to get it done. You have so much on your plate that you can't do anything because you can't focus. And having a support group, having women you can talk to. How do I get through this? How are you handling this? And we have masterminds, we have roundtables, we have those kinds of discussions, and we create safe space to have that. But when you're stuck in your own head, it gets really hard to get out of that feedback loop of you just on that hamster wheel of trying to get it all done. You can't get it all done. Learning how to delegate, learning how to ask for help, that was huge for me. So I'm not saying this is easy stuff, because it's not. If you're not accustomed to asking for help can be really hard. If you are a total doer, and a lot of, solopreneurs, entrepreneurs, independent contractors, we're the doers. We don't delegate, we get it done. But when you're scaling and you're growing, you have to let go. You've got to learn how to let go. And every now and then the overwhelm is gonna wash over you as you're scaling and you're growing. But the more practiced you become at letting go, the easier it is to delegate when the overwhelm happens, because it's going to happen. Stress happens. It's, if you were never overwhelmed by something, then life would be pretty boring. I mean, overwhelm can be a joyful thing. You can be overwhelmed with excitement. You can be overwhelmed with, oh my God, everything is going so great. How do I handle this? And you can be overwhelmed with, oh my God, everything's going so great. How do I handle this?
Right.
At the same time.
Right.
So it's so funny you asked me that question right now, because I'm working on our newsletter, and I was tapping into a conversation we had at one of our recent events about accumulating positives as a way of helping to manage stress, and stress being a byproduct of the overwhelm, or overwhelm being a byproduct of the stress. They go hand in hand. And the whole concept of accumulating positives, celebrating the small wins, focusing on the small things instead of the big things. It could be as simple as I go for a walk and I see the flowers and they bring me joy. That's accumulate those positives. So when you're in that place of, my life sucks, I got too much to do, I can't possibly do this, my husband's begging for my attention, my son is begging for attention, the dog needs a walk, I don't know what we're having for dinner, I've got a client deadline, I don't know how I'm going to pay this bill. Okay, stop. Right. You have a husband, you have a child, you have a dog, you have a family, you have a business. These are positives. Don't focus on all the negatives in the business. Focus on the wins.
Right.
Look at that bill going, I actually have a bill to pay for my business because I have a company. I'm not just this solopreneur. I've built something. All right, let's celebrate that. Now we're going to figure it out.
Hmm. Perspective, right? I mean,
Yes.
a lot of times they say that, anxiety and excitement feel the same in the body, right? It's just how
Yes.
we interpret it and what we are labeling it and what we're saying that it is. And a lot of times when it comes to overwhelm, those are indicators, right? They're telling
Mhm.
you maybe you might be out of alignment. Maybe you're doing things that are not in your wheelhouse. Maybe it's time to delegate. Like these are all things that are like, okay, yeah, it could be great things going on as well, but it gives us that opportunity to pause and go, okay, why is this up for me and what's going
Right.
on? And when we have communities and we can kind of share that, so many times, people can see outside of ourselves. Like we don't always see the big picture when we're in it. And so a lot of times people be like, oh, it's obvious, I can see this. But when you're in it, you don't always see all the things
Right.
with it. And I know you talk a lot about, simplifying. In what ways do you simplify things?
When a process becomes too complex, it's all right, where can we cut the fat? Basically, do we really need this level of detail? What's the end result? And have we just overcomplicated how we're getting there? What really matters? In your day to day, as you're going through your day and things seem hard and difficult and complex, what can we let go of? Where are those excess things that are dragging us down? And sometimes it comes down to your technology in your business. What's the technology you're using? Is it actually helping you? Your team, is your team efficient? Do they know what they're doing? Has communication been clear? Are you clear with yourself? Sometimes we're just muddled on what we think we should be doing, and we got this huge long to-do list. And if we really look at what's important, we can prioritize and pare that down and simplify and give yourself permission to go slow. That's the biggest one for me, when I remind myself that I'm in control and I can go at my pace, and the world's not going to end if something doesn't get done. If we communicate clearly why and when things are happening, then there's understanding. But if we hold it tight and just try and always hit, we start to fail. Sorry, I have a tickle in my throat.
Yeah, no, I totally get that. While we look at our journey, a lot of times people will see like the end result and see, okay, you're successful, you've got your group, and there's a lot of things that are going on. However, it's really helpful for people to see like what was your journey like? Like what were some things that disempowered you that you had to work through?
Sorry, something really got me. The self-questioning is definitely one. When people were asking me in the beginning to start Women to Women, the thought of why me kept coming through. Why are they asking me to do this thing? Why do I have to be the one to lead? I'm not a leader. I don't want to be a leader. What do they see in me? How can they possibly? And when it's those self-doubts that can really sabotage. And self-doubts build over time, and looking back on where self-doubt creeps in, where it ever crept in. Sometimes it's the little things that people have said over the course of a lifetime. Sometimes it's a well-meaning friend or family member who inadvertently undermines you. They mean well, but in their effort to protect you, they've actually held you back. It could be a boss who was just a nightmare situation. And you come away from that situation wondering, what's wrong with me? Why couldn't I achieve? Why couldn't I do? And sometimes it's simply a matter of being in the wrong place, trying to do the wrong thing. You're very capable at a lot of things. We tend to sell ourselves short. But when you find your stride, when you find the things that you're really good at and that you love doing, then it's going to work. But when you're trying to force yourself into something that you don't really enjoy, then you're not going to succeed. You're not going to excel. And all those doubts that anyone has ever said to you and the things that you run through your own head are going to creep in. Mm-hmm. But when you're in that place of joy, it's so much easier to shut down. I call her Nellie the Nag Hag. So Nellie the Nag Hag in my head, she doesn't talk to me very much anymore. I have surrounded myself with amazing people who I can trust and be completely vulnerable with about my business, and get that positive feedback, get that help, get that reinforcement, and to not brush it off. When somebody gives me a compliment, I don't brush it off anymore. I take it in. Too often we brush it off.
Yeah, definitely.
And we shouldn't. Take it in.
Absolutely. So let's look at the converse side where, you have, stepped into your power, and times where, like you're totally in alignment.
Yeah, it's with the marketing company, when I really embraced all that I had to offer, and stopped questioning, and I'm like, no, I got this. I know what I'm talking about. I can help, and seeing the results, and working with an agency, a partner, the way we worked together and how we elevated each other. Yeah, that was empowering. It's like the more we did, the bigger we went, the bigger clients we went after, the bigger projects we were willing to take on. And we took on some big stuff that both of us were like, do we know how to do this? Yeah, we got this. Together, we've got this. We'd seen how other contractors had done certain projects, and we're like, we can do that. Why aren't we doing that? And we would just step into it. And same thing with Women to Women. When I launched it, I was, well, this is just going to be this little local group. And when I started to think bigger, and again, I worked with a coach, and it was pretty impactful when he said, stop trying to mimic what other groups are doing. Stop trying to recreate, just step into it. Lean into what you are capable of and be the leader you are. And that's where that step into the possible, which is now, that's my tagline. That's what I say. That's what I tell people. That's what I tell my members. Step into the possible. Don't limit yourself. And when you start stepping into the possible, you empower yourself. When you start saying yes, you empower yourself. You'll figure it out. You'll find a way. Surround yourself with the right people. They will lift you up. They will build you up. They love what you're doing. They've got your back. Then, yeah, that empowerment happens when you start to really take control of your life and how you want to live and what you want to do. When you dare to dream big and you speak those big ideas out loud, things start to shift. Now, that was scary for me when I the first time I said we're going to be a national organization. I was like, did I actually say that out loud? Can I do this? And it was like, yes, I can. I don't know how, but yes, I can.
Definitely. Oh my God. Well, speaking of just stepping into things, one of the things I always like to talk about is that we live differently in our bedroom versus our kitchen or our office. Mm-hmm. So what is your favorite room in your home and why?
Oh, golly. Actually, we have a guest room, and we moved a year ago. The old house, the guest room was always multi-purpose, jumbled mess. I hated that room. In this house, we've made it truly just a guest room. And that room is peace and quiet. It's filled with art from Hawaii, which is my favorite place. It's filled with my favorite books. It's filled with art that my best friend made for me. It's filled with treasures I have found while on various trips or whatever. Just it's just a very happy place for me. And I can lay in that room, lay on the bed in that room and look out the window, see the blue sky, see the trees. I can go in there and sometimes I'll sleep in that room. And if it's a full moon, I leave that window just wide open and I can just see the moon and the sky. And I don't know, that room just brings me peace. There's zero distractions in that room.
That's awesome. It almost sounds like a staycation. You could just kind of check yourself in that room and stay for a couple of days.
Yeah. Sadly, when I had COVID, that was the room I was in.
Oh, wow.
Other end of the house, and I could be by myself and sick in my misery, but it was a nice room to be in.
Oh, wow. So Liz, what's one thing that people are surprised to learn about you?
Let's see. Well, after they get to know me, it's not a surprise, but I talk like a sailor. So yeah, there's that. I have a dark side.
I can relate to that because when I worked undercover in my police work, I had a whole different slew of vocabulary that served me well.
Yeah. Boy, I don't know what's surprising about me. I like beer as much as I like wine. I don't mind getting dirty. I love getting out and digging holes and playing in the mud. But you can see me on the weekend in flip-flops and grubbies with dirt under my nails, and then I'll show up at an event dressed to the nines. I'm extremes. I'm everything in between. Yeah.
I love that. I mean, it's so in line with just being able to express yourself and, dare to go bigger and to just have all the different parameters of who we are. And I think sometimes when people limit themselves in one way, they don't get to see all the other different facets of who we are. So I love hearing about that.
Yeah, I think we should embrace all the sides of ourselves and don't put yourself in a little box. I did that. It doesn't work. You want out of that box so bad when you put yourself there.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Liz, I know people are going to want to stay in contact with you. How can they best do that?
So on our website, Women to Women it's WTOWnetwork.com. I'm sure you'll have that plastered somewhere. Yes. But in our directory, the contact us form still goes straight to me. That'll have to change as we get bigger. But I'm on LinkedIn, Liz Hatcher, Liz at Women to Women Network. I mean, you can find me. But our website's a great place.
Perfect. Sounds good. Well, as you know, our theme for this season is intentional living. So in what way are you living an intentional life today?
I am hunkering down with no distractions to hit some deadlines. And then I am getting ready for an executive mastermind this evening. It's a new thing that we launched, and coming into that in the right mind space to be there for these women. So I clear my afternoon when we have one of these events so that I'm fresh when I get there, that I'm not coming in, worrying about, whatever I've got going on, that I'm going to be present. And I know that I'm going to come away fulfilled, because I always do. Even though I'm running it, it's, my thing, I get so much in return. So taking the time to show up and not be just frazzled, block out the time. Yeah, that's important.
So good. I love it. Well, I just want to thank you for your wisdom and for you sharing about how, when you get those nudges, even if you're not sure how it's all going to work, that you just kind of lean in and step into it and live your best life.
Yes. Just say yes.
So good. Thank you. Thank you. Well, to our listeners out there, if you are feeling like you've been putting yourself in a box and it's time for you to break free and to be able to really step into the possibilities for you, feel free to reach out to either myself or Liz. We're happy to answer any questions and to support you in any way. And until we connect again, live your spa life. Bye for now. Bye-bye. See ya.